myself organised here again. And if you guys are ready, we will begin at the beginning. I'm just going to make sure we're all synchronised up. You'll be good with this one, Peter? Good. Okay, here we have our first image. Even across the board, this image scores 6. And I'm looking for a comment, please. Start with the volunteer. Thank you, Tony.
Look, I think impact is there. I love the heavy blacks. I do like the heavy blacks, but there's a bit too much of it. I think the bottom of the frame is perfect. It's got too much at the bottom on the left. It's not quite enough of the hand for it to play a part, the part that I'd like it to have, and also I think perhaps a highlight, just a hint in the eye would pull us in a little bit further. But I love the drama and I love the use of a bit of light and maximum black. Just a bit too much. It's like over-maxed.
Great, thank you. And next print. This image scores 5. And Mark, thank you.
For the placement of the little boy in such a dark attic with all these little elements, it's very bright. The boy's face is very bright, and it's just hasn't come quite together. So it's one of those things that the elements are there to create this story, but then the lighting doesn't complement what's happening at the same time. And the brightness of the tin roof as well is really throwing things off. So when you're creating a portrait such as this, where you've got this vintagey feel, create that with the lighting, the mood and the stage and the setup that you have to bring those elements out.
Cool. Thank you. Very worthy comments. Thank you, sir. Okay, and next image. Okay. We have a score. This image scores 5. And looking for what can be done to lift this to the next level. Jazz, thank you.
Yeah, this is a beautiful family portrait. I feel like it's professional practice. The background is a little bit distracting to me with the textures on the background. Probably get rid of that to lift it up a bit more. Yeah, I think the family would love this.
Thank you. Tony?
Just the hands could be dealt with a bit better. They're a little bit clunky and not shaped properly, and also little detail. You've got necklaces on the 2 outside girls, and I think the girl in the middle missing it gives her shoulder too much prominence, and another piece of decoration there, like a necklace for her.
Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Erica. Just pause for Ben to resume his position. Thank you, Senor. Okay, and we're going to the next print. This image scores 6. And sure, so we have a review from Tony, thank you. Tony, grab the microphone and...
Look, I think a strong portrait for me is one that brings more than just what's literally in front of me.
Tony, sorry about that. Yeah, thank you.
A strong portrait for me brings something more than what's just in front of me. And what I mean by that is I get the sense of harshness of this environment. I like the contrasting, almost overlit feel. Because if you're out in the bush, if you're out in those areas where we have the red dirt, we have these blue skies, red dirt, the yellow brush, everything's untidy and dry, and we get this feeling of grittiness coming out of the picture, which is helped by the contrast and that push towards the high end of contrast or light. But there's a stoicness and a determination that's coming through his face. This is a good portrait of this man. Now this would work beautifully as a black and white as well. And I applaud the photographer for having the courage to stay in colour, because a lot of us would just go to black and white. The colour gives us the context of environment, the red dirt, the blue sky, etc. And his clothes match that brilliantly. They come in just the right colours, they match in almost perfectly the colour harmony of the shirt and the colour of the ground. So all of this to me is a very strong portrait. The angle of the face leaning back to the left. When we travel from left to right, we're held within the frame, but we can't help wondering, what is he thinking about? What has he dealt with? He has his bravery and courage and stoicness that I think is what the portrait's about. So that's why I wanted to see it awarded as a...
Let's explore. Thank you. So let's pass the baton around and...
Yeah, I definitely agree. I love that he appears to be on the land. All that held me back was I felt the separation in focus between the man and the background was just a little bit out of context with the purposeful harshness of the light, and everything was worked so well. So I just would have liked to see a wider depth field if it was at all possible.
Yeah, look, I was at high level of visual communication. I definitely agree with what you're saying, Tony. What held me back was the kind of crunchiness on the sky.
Yes, it's on the screen. Yes,
but I do agree that it should be
Yeah, all great comments. I agree with everything. I was actually at a 7 as well, Tony, but I brought down to a bronze just because I thought, yeah, that looked cool, black and white, and also just the red on both sides of the picture. I thought maybe that could be darkened down. On the bottom corner, but I love the intensity of the guy's face. There's so much story there. He's got bloodshot eyes, and it's like there's almost like determination, like you said, Tony. So yeah, I could definitely come up.
Yeah, all the points are great. In terms for myself, it's just it's still too bright, it's still too hot. I'd want to see the grittiness a little bit more. And yes, there is lots of grittiness in his beard and his face and things, but I just find it a little bit too saturated. Bring it down by 10%. It's not by much, but that 10% is the difference between going to a different scoring range.
Okay. Wrapping up, Tony?
Yeah, respectfully disagree, because I think if we dull this picture down, we lose a lot of its impact. And this guy's thing is, it's full sun, he's got no sunglasses on, and that's the way these boys do it.
Yep.
They're tough as nails. And I like seeing the toughness and the grittiness that's coming through because of the contrast and the bright light. The separation of the background. I think because the background, if you take a look at that, if that was any sharper, it's busy. And suddenly we've got a busy beard, we've got a busy shirt, we've got wrinkles all over his face, and we've got all this busy... I think we need the separation to really help him stand out. So I'm asking, I kind of feel like I underscored it now, but 7 is what I gave it. You guys give it what you think it should have said.
Thank you. Rescoring, everyone else? Sorry? Okay. So it's a break. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Lisa needs a break. Erica, could you step in? Sorry, Lisa. Sorry. I'll pause for the interruption here. Have you quivering with anticipation? The score is for this image. It's a 7, a silver award. Well done. Okay, Erica, you all settled in there? Okay, good? Okay. Next image. Are we all good? Image scores a 6. And who can provide some uplifting... Thank you, Ben. Uplifting commentary, please.
Yeah, I think this deserves a bronze for sure. I love how the photographers let the boys just be themselves and tell the stories. Their brothers. I like that. One of the boys, wearing this like shark fin sort of thing, and his hair sort of looks like a fin as well. And it's just I can see individual personality and lots of story and character in this portrait. The lighting's really nice. It's not too feminine. It is masculine lighting, so you can see the shape in the face and all this kind of things like that. So I really like this portrait. I think it deserves a bronze for sure.
Sure. Okay. Oh, sorry. Clicking on pop-ups here. Okay, we're going to go to the next image. Okay, I think we are in. This image scores a 6.
The contrast between the really sharp
Erica?
jetty and of course the
Erica, do you want to...
exposure.
You can pass if you like. So, what can be done?
A lot of these sort of images, but for me, this is the most really well. Now, I'm not really
the
asking
boys,
for a
on
gold or anything
boys'
here, but
expression.
I think from the six to come up with a silver, I think is worth
He's
it.
concerned, and I'm wondering what the story is.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like his face is perhaps oversaturated in colour, and I would have liked to have seen him with a catchlight in his eyes to just really drive home that communication and the emotiveness of the subject. Possibly even cropping on the
Thank you. Okay, next image. This image scores 6. And looking for comments. Thanks, Mark.
Would like to see more intimacy within the subjects to really bring them closer together. Obviously, the outfit suits the culture, but I feel like there's so much separation between the 4 subjects. They are placed well in the frame, but if you were to just bring them all in closer and really create that intimacy a little bit more, and maybe turn the baby's head just ever so slightly to get more of a profile, because the blanket covering up the chin really hides the baby. I think that would have taken this portrait to the next stage.
Why just very naturally just rest at the end of the jetty with that glow.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Now we go to the next print image. Sorry.
Yeah.
There it is. 6. Okay, this image scores a 5. And Tony, where can this be enhanced further? All right.
I'll be honest, I thought this was either absolute genius or really lacking in craft. And I landed in the middle somewhere. I think I gave it a 6. Because there's a deliberateness in the focus, obviously on the glass and the hand, and everything else falls away. And then the white light and that contrast line is so sharp, so heavy, so strong, that it's like yanks you. And I thought, it's just almost such a big mistake that it's not a mistake. So I feel like this is a story about the drink, the booze, depression, things like that. I just don't think you brought it together strongly enough for all of us to get it, maybe. So I'm giving credit for certain things because it's so deliberate, but I also feel like you haven't quite got the story across. So that's the message of it.
Cool. And I think there's a lot of nodding going with you, so yeah, general consensus. Okay, I'm going to go to the next image. Scores are in. This image scores a 6. Tony, thank you. A review, please.
Definitely challenged in that. I was sitting between 8 and 9. I think the impact of this image is powerful. I think this type of image is a hell of a lot harder than we give it credit for. I tried this type of shooting and it's not that easy to nail it like that. As a swimmer, doing this type of swimming, competitive swimming, they are in their own world, they're in their own little bubble. What a fantastic narrative captured in a single image. The colour, everything about this image through here works beautifully. Why didn't I go gold? I think the darkening at the top and the bottom is just letting the image down a little. Is it enough for me not to think it's worth of an award? Not even a second thought. No, this is worthy of an award in my mind. Silver plus minimum. And when I look at the detail, the sharpness, this is water, and yet it looks sharp. Yet we don't think of it as sharp water. We see the fluidity and we see the bubble with which that swimmer is lost, both literally and also part of swimming is about understanding, without getting too technical, laminar flow, like the flow of water and the aerodynamics element of that. All of this has been illustrated beautifully. I would have jumped straight into goal, and just that top and bottom is just holding it back a bit, but not enough for me not to see it at an 8. So what I go?
Yes? I'm pretty sure he gave it a 10. No, it was an 8. Okay. Who's in agreement and disagreement and everything in between?
So I know nothing about swimming, so thank you for somewhat educating me in that sense. I was actually a little bit distracted by the colours, I must admit. I was even wondering whether the orange, whatever barrier thing is at the top even needed to be there. Doing a review about the water, I was definitely loving all the shapes and the texture and how it's completely sharp. There is no movement there, it's completely frozen, I guess. And just the way that it goes over the top of the swimmer's face. So I'm listening, and I will come up because there's definitely some things in there that I do really like about.
Even though
Great.
a couple of you saying that 44 average train.
Yeah, look, I really appreciate how difficult it is
So
to
it
get,
does allow you to travel around and around and
held back a little bit because it is so sharp on that water that that's where my eye kind of wants to go. It's really really sharp. But yeah, I think degree of difficulty, absolutely, and I do love this moment that has been captured.
Cool. Ben?
Yeah, thanks for challenging Tony. I'm a bit with Erica. Yeah, like for me to understand it, I sort of thought, well, I was a bit distracted by the boring and stuff like that. I see that I can definitely see difficulty in shooting this and getting it sharp and those kinds of that. I just didn't understand the narrative, the story. So but I'm listening and I'm willing to come up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so you have 26 attempts per minute to get this shot. So, from a swimming point of view, in 100 metres, you've got 26 times that you do a stroke. Now, if you've got your camera set up on like that stroke rate, it's a shot that has been beautifully captured. It's beautifully sharp. She's in the bubble. I love all those components of it. Your story of what you're saying is awesome. Is it a once-off? Is it a moment caught in time? No, you've got 26 attempts to get this right per 100 metres. So that's why I didn't score it too much higher, because it's like if you miss it on one stroke, you've got 3 seconds to then shoot it again, and then shoot it again, and then shoot it again, and shoot it again. So in terms of the difficulty of it, you've got lots of opportunities to create this, but I also appreciate that one frame in time at the same time. So you could do this tomorrow and do the same thing with the same shot. So from that point of view, that's the only reason why I didn't go much higher up, but I appreciate the water. I love the bubble, the story of the bubble. They're in their own bubble in a pool. So that's my take on it.
So I love this because I disagree. Respectfully. You don't get that shot 26 times because most of the time I've been to swim, you can't run along the side of the pool shooting it at the same angle.
Yeah.
So as the swimmer comes in, and I'm assuming this is either a backstroke takeoff, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So what's happening is they're going to be in a certain position or angle for you to shoot at one particular frame, or maybe 3. But after that, you're shooting long down the pool, or you've got the top of their head. So first of all, you get 1 shot or 2 shots per 50 metres if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Secondly, framing it and choosing to get the right stroke in that moment, yes, I understand that, but you've got to get all those elements to come together. Is the hand in front of the face, and when that shot comes up, is the hand here, and then you wait for the next time, and now they've gone too far down the pool. So I think the angles, there's not that many. And I know you swim, and Mark's an Ironman, so I know he knows what he's talking about. But I also feel that the bubbles that you talked about at the beginning, the sharpness, the bubbles and the bigger bubble around her head, you want, almost for a swimmer, there's that oxygen space in here that you need to hold on to. And for me, I'm getting a feeling of that, and someone who doesn't swim can feel that. So as I said, I find that it is a shot that tells somebody who wasn't a swimmer what it might feel like, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, to be in the water in a competitive race. But I acknowledge what Mark says, there is probably a couple of chances, but I could use that argument for 99% of photography there.
Absolutely.
If I miss it, I'll go around again in a plane, or I'll line up the guide again, or whatever. So I still think we should be awarding it. So, we've all had ourselves.
Let's go.
What did it score for this time?
So the score was 6. All good? Yes, now scores a 7, a silver award.
Good job.
Well done, team. Well done, team. We're going to the next image. All good. So this image scores 7, silver award. Okay, who can help out with lifting this up to higher achievements? Erica, thank you.
Did you just challenge me to review this. Just a comment.
Just a comment. It's up to you.
Oh my gosh, there is so much to love about this. First of all, it's bloody hard to have two kids of that age at the same time, to all of that genuinely happy and have such genuine expressions. The printing, I really wouldn't say that it needs anything extra or less to make it any better. The puppy is great. I'm just really enjoying this family moment. It's awesome. It
Great.
deserves a good solid award.
It has. A good one. Well done, team. Okay. Just going to do a little judge swap. Ben, thank you very much for your part. David, could you come in? And then I'll go a couple of here. All good? This image scores a 5. Mark, can I get you to, before you head off the panel,
Absolutely.
provide some photographers some feedback, please.
This is one of those little bit of a missed opportunity of the two cultures coming together with and the brightness of the image. If this was done in black and white, it would make a really strong image. It's quite hot at the moment. The baby's face is just way too bright. The cropping, if you just lost that whole left hand side of the dad, the whole right hand side of the mum, and do it as a vertical kind of pano to really emphasize the baby and draw your eyes in, that cultural story will be kept there, and it's a great mix of bringing that family together. It's just it's not even the image, it's the crop of the image and how the image has been worked. So it's a post-production thing. And this is one of those kind of moments where if you're a photographer entering awards, like, send it to some friends and people that you know that enter to give you some feedback beforehand, because this cropped and treated in a different way would be virtually a different image completely. And it was, I think it would create a different story match.
Good. Useful comments. Thank you, sir. Right. Let's do a change. Yep. So, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lisa. Here comes the next image. This image scores a 6. And Jazz, you want to? Can you offer something, some wisdom for our entrant? Thank you. Okay, and next image is... Okay, we all good? This image scores a 6, and I'd like a voluntary comment, please. Thank you, Lisa.
It's a magnificent cape and styling in this image. However, I feel it's been a little bit let down in the way it's been put together and processed. There's a lot of blues in the shadows, which are taken away from the delicate pinks and the warmths in the dress. And I wonder if we could actually convey that feeling of movement in one well-shot spinning image with the drag showing. I wonder if we need a bit of fire.
Cool. Okay, thank you. And next image is... This image scores a 5. And I'm looking for some good feedback. Thank you, Tony.
I think with an image of this nature, obviously everything has to be placed in the right place, and it's pretty much done that way. But I find that on our right, the hair's coming out and interfering with the rest of the way the colour looks unnatural. The highlight on that hand and the angle of the wrist gives a very long hand and a very bright area, which is basically the arm, which is overshadowing the face. The bottom hand with the fingers scrunched up, it's an instrument, get it to stretch the fingers out. So this is about the natural beauty of the female form, and these areas that are kind of cornered and chunky and pushed in, we need to elevate them and give them a little bit more natural flow to complement what is a beautiful lady. The colour itself is a bit too rich and red for me. I don't know whether it's an oversaturation, just a colour balance thing. So good concept, but needs work.
Cool. Great, thank you, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Unrelated to this photo. I'm assuming these monitors have been calibrated, yes?
My understanding is yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question. Okay, all good? This image scores 5. And David, do you want to? Oh, sorry, Lisa, you can. I like your eagerness. Thank you.
So, this is a really lovely. You can see that this little boy is really proud of his dance and he's really into his dancing or dancing, depending on how they work. I'm just drawing a little bit too much to the hands that aren't at a very graceful angle, and he is trying to show us that he can be graceful and strong. And if there was a little bit more brightness in his face, that's quite English, as opposed to his chest and his silhouette, that would be a lot stronger. But I love what the photographer is trying to do here.
Thank you. Splendiferous. Okay. We're going to. Okay, image scores 6, which is the bronze award. Okay, next image is. Oh, sorry, I'll go back to that. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
It's really beautiful, the interaction with mum and daughter there. That part of the image is really strong. I'm not sure if it's sort of awkward, the other daughter, the other daughter is sitting just not quite sure about that part of the image. It's a little bit, there's some technical things a little bit here and there as well. But yeah, overall, that bit's quite good.
Cool, great. And we go for the next image. Okay, this image scores a 6. And David, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously very proud. The sun, I imagine the sun just looks really awkward there, like it's holding a lollipop or something, you know, ice cream, just, I don't know, that could have resolved a little bit better, the composition. Yeah. Great, the mum was great, daughter was okay, but the son just doesn't work.
Cool.
My personal
And highly valued it is, David. Okay, next image is. Okay, this image scores 7. Silver award. Okay. Yes, please. I thought you made movement then.
I wanted to go higher when I saw this, and the reason is because the editing being done really well technically. Lighting, the composition beautiful, the styling is good. It just needs a bit of energy or animation. I don't need energy, crazy faces and things, but something that adds to what it's about. And there's a disconnect with the face. So I think you've got to work on that connection with your subject, try and get something coming out and get some energy out of the subject, because technically everything else is working beautifully, which is why you've got to set it.
Yeah, great. Perfect. Okay, next image is. This image scores 4. And so, like Lisa, thank you. How can we help the entrant with feedback?
So to start with, this entrant has got the key elements of being a great portrait photographer is that they actually live with people. This elderly couple are so relaxed, they enjoy the experience, you have captured a beautiful moment here. You just need to work on your technique. It is too brightly lit up near the grandma's grey or the elderly lady's grey hair. It may even be that this image is perfect. It can just be finessed in post. So bring down the saturation of those skin tones, darken the frame that they're holding, darken around the lady's face, so that where we're looking is the contact between the two of them. We want to see her looking with adoration at her husband. So you're definitely going to make an amazing, or are an amazing portrait photographer. Just take a little bit more care with your photos. Sure. You've got a great picture.
Excellent. Thank you. And our next image is... This image scores 7, the Silver Award. Anyone from Jazz, would you like to? Oh, it's gone dead. Yeah. Yeah, cut an arrow, Tony. Lovely. Thank you, Chaz. Oh, the blue light's back again. Is that what was missing? Oh, good job. Well done. You guys are in the ball. I'll just go back now. Okay, here we go. Next image is... And this image scores 6. Bronze Award. Okay. David... Sure. Erica. Oh, Tony, thank you.
There's nothing actually really wrong with this. There's not a lot really right at all. And that's why it's sitting in the middle. I think the static nature of the image makes you a good professional record of this gentleman, what he wears, etc. I think he needs that something else to award. So when we talk about giving an award, we've got to award something. And I think that's what's missing. We just need some level of expression. It doesn't have to be a laugh, it doesn't have to be a grimace, it's just something. But everything is static. It's like he's waiting for the shot to be taken, and yet there's nothing else coming to us. So communication is part of what we're looking for, and it's probably not there. But technically, it didn't mark.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Next image is... This image scores a 6. Okay, who would like to share their thoughts? Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, I just got this in the silver range. I can see where we sit, but I just feel like there's so much story and narrative to this image. You know, with the expression smile, but also the single tear, just sort of ask the question, you know, what is this person or thing going through? I just love how it's really contrasty. So, yeah, I think it all comes down to the narrative. I think maybe it could have scored higher if maybe the expression of the mouth was a little bit different to match on the tear or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Thank you, mate. I'll need to swap you back. Sorry, Tony. Thank you. And the next image is... And this image scores a 5. And who can help out our entrant to get them to aspire to a higher level? Thanks, Tony. Yep.
I think it's important that the lighting and the presentation of the image should complement the emotion based on body language, etc. The image has got a soft, loving embrace, but the lighting is quite harsh and probably coming from the wrong angle. It feels a little bit hot as well. And then just in terms of hands and things, the girl, the redhead's girl with the left arm coming around the shoulders, very clawy, and we just got a little some posing on hands, things that stylise and soften and add femininity, because this is a feminine shot of 2 ladies that we need to actually make sure all the elements complement, and at the moment they're not quite complementing. But it is a lovely embrace.
Yep. Correct. Nodding heads there with you. Okay, and the next image. This image scores a 7 Silver Award. you like to comment? Yeah?
Yeah, I thought this was really visually striking when it came up. Really strong portrait of the dancer. To bring it up, I guess I would bring up maybe a little bit of the blacks on the head. Just a smidge. This has got a little bit more detail in there. But yeah, beautiful portrait.
Cool. Great, thank you. Okay, let's go. Next print. All good? This, is that right? Yep. This image scores a 6. Thank you, Tony. That is...
I gave this an 8. I think in terms of structure, lighting, editing, I think all of that's right. There's beautiful details in this black all through here. We've got separation of the background not too bright. I love this, whether it's the narrative, whether it's called a narrative or part of a message or a search, this conflict between sort of decorative parties, uniform and black. I think that adds up quirkiness, something a little different that haven't seen much of. There's enough separation, just enough light on the head, but the head is taken over. Everything leads to the head. Why didn't I go 9 on 10? Maybe the hand could have been a little better, but that's kind of about the only thing that I couldn't award points for. And I love that steadfast, he's got a very strong neck, good jawline. Everything about him has been accentuated and accelerated in this portrait, which to me is a very powerful portrait of a masculine figure. And the eye contact was going that one. So I felt that this was a bit above just sort of an award for definitely sexual.
Oh, sorry. I'm sure it will be heard.
I'm on board with this. Portrait. The expression really is quite a heroic expression. I'm not sure what else you would do. I just probably knocked it down a bit because I'm not so keen on hand position as well. Maybe across the chest or something might have worked a little bit better. But what a print. I mean, the print is incredible. I mean, lighting, this person knows how to light. I mean, that's just got that little bit of touch of fire in the hair, and that background is just perfect, and there's just the right amount of detail on blacks. Yes, there's a little black point there. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'm definitely in agreement with everything you said. I'm probably still a little bit low. Obviously, it's all come up. But where I'm not sort of really different and his expression in the eyes feels like the jaw, everything just feels a bit worried. Maybe I've seen something that's not there, rather than how all the serenity I feel there should be with this outfit. And just the fact that I can't see that in the hand. I don't mind that the hand's down there. I just wish I could see it's just missing a hand. But otherwise, technically, it is good. So, definitely.
Yeah, I was with you at 6. I felt like it was very similar to some other shots that we've seen, so I felt like it was not as unique, but I do think it's a really highly communicated portrait for sure, and definitely listening. I'm definitely happy to move up a little bit. I felt like the expression was a little bit lacking, just a little bit vacant rather than strong or kind of, yeah. I just wanted a little bit more with that, but I think it's beautifully lit and yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm with the ladies on this one. I do agree that whilst it's got a good expression, I feel like it doesn't quite translate that strength that Tony was pointing out, and especially the clothes that this man's in. I don't necessarily find that clothes quite as powerful as the expression possibly could be. I'm just sort of technical as well. I am bothered a little bit by there's quite a few white flecks on the black of his outfit.
It doesn't make sense.
I think you've got to be really careful when you're going to pose our project onto this character what we think should demonstrate his courage or confidence or strength or whatever. it's a different culture. So straight away I'm thinking a different culture is going to express themselves in a different way. And a lot of that culture is I'm feeling Southeast Asian and US something. But I feel like maybe that's not allowed to be shown. I don't know. But technically, this automatically, technically it was straight up to 7A. And then the posing and the lighting and all those things added to it. That eye contact and the way that it just told me stoic like that. Stoic, if this was some cowboy or something, it'd be different. But I just feel like it's got to be. I would love to have gone to 9 or 10, but there were just a couple of things missing for me. But they're the reasons I got to 8, and that's what I'm asking you to do.
Okay, thank you, Tony. We'll score, everybody else rescoring. Where are we up to? Okay. What's on a 6? Now it's an 8. Silver plus. Good job. Okay. Next image. Okay. This image scores a 7 silver award. Next image. Oh, sorry. So eager.
This photographer has got a lovely eye for colour tones and design. It does it really beautifully. I just wanted to pay a little bit more attention to the post-production. The mouth is very soft and the eyes are overly sharpened. And the skin is just a little bit off. We want to see a little bit of texture there. The painterly effect is lovely. The do painterly effect, but that's not really wipe away every detail in the skin. So just keep an eye on that. When the eyes are so sharp compared to the lips and then little bits of hair here, occasionally taking that sharpness down, we don't notice that the lips are really soft.
Thank you very much. Okay. Here we go. Image scores an 8 Silver Plus award. A review. Thank you. So Lisa has scored this a 10.
Got a little excited. There is, in this image to me, a kind of a raw honesty and a very deep storytelling in its simplicity that just I looked at and I could just see so much. This, in my mind, I don't know the truth behind the story in my mind, this man may be suffering from dementia, maybe a little bit confused, and then the hair or brushing out to this way, being in his pyjamas and a contrasting colour, then the graphical nature of light coming in from the outside and shining through, and then he's perfectly framed, almost like he's tying a portrait around his head while that's there on the wall. I just sort of sat down and I thought 9 or 10, and I don't know, glasses to go on. For me, this had the endearing quality. It had a high degree of originality. I haven't seen anything portrayed this way. I think it's worth at least a 9.
I agree with it. I would go with an 8 and probably a little bit. It's fantastic composition. I mean, the negative causes space. It's created a little bit of white and black in the background, perfectly framed. The arrow pointing to the light, which is the outside, which is typically denied of. Pajamas. I probably took a point away because I thought it was too sharp. I don't think it needs to be sharpened that much. And it's the sort of thing that it's maybe a personal thing, but we get old people and just sharpen the hell out of it to try and make them kind of, something I feel it's a little bit post-production. But other than that, it's really beautiful. I just think it was less sharp would be more gently handled.
Yeah, I think this is a really strong portrait. I think I was a little bit held back by the window up the top. Like my eye just wants to keep going up there, even though like the face is so strong. So that's probably why I wasn't as high as you know, Lisa. But I'm definitely listening. I think it's a really strong portrait. But yeah, I guess maybe talk to me about that window a little bit.
a portrait of this man, and that's pretty much all I want to look at. So I'm distracted by the white area behind his head and the light shining into that wall. That for me is just taking away from his story, which is why I didn't explore it as much. But as a portrait of this person, I love it.
Yeah, I was on 8, floating on 9, and now I'm floating on 9, floating on 10, because the conceptually is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Look at the neutral greys of the inside of this room represent the vacancy of his world. The little window represents that last bit of the real world that he's aware of, that's out there, that he gets a little bit of a hint of, but every now and then, but then it's gone, because he's just living in this blankness. Because the way those shapes are that's not by chance, that's brilliantly composed, brilliantly composed. The one thing that was holding me back from the perfect score was that little bit of extra light coming from the light. I just felt, I don't mind the sharpness of it, kind of the grittiness of it matches an older bloke. Respectfully, if it was an older lady, perhaps I would have liked the less, but that doesn't bother me. I'm neutral on that, but that light coming from the bottom, lighting his chest, that's what's holding me back a little bit. So depending on your closing discussion there, so I'm on 9, guaranteed with that, but the rest of it, brilliant concept, and if you ever entered anywhere else, just deal with that bottom right and you've got it. Absolutely one of the best portraits I've ever seen of this style.
I 100% agree. If you, girls, if I get you just to hold your hand up and take away that window and the light, the portrait, it's just not there anymore. There's the expression, the vacancy, but the storytelling disappears. For me, that window and the light makes this image and the composition. So without it, it makes no sense. I do agree with you, Tony, about the light. I can't necessarily address that. But with everything else, I think we're there. It deserves that little bit extra.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. We're all rescoring. Numbers are coming in, scores are appearing, and the final result is going to be nine. Gold award. Okay. I'm just next door. All good?
Awesome. Yeah. We're getting ready to see the next image. Are the judges ready? Scorecards ready? Let's go. So we are still in the portrait category, and the next image is coming up on our screen when I can hit a button. There we go. Beautiful. We have a average score of 5. Gary, may I have a comment, please?
Such a lovely, clean, yes, such a lovely, clean, nicely lit image with a pleasing bokeh, natural process. Very good job.
Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a final score of 6. Can I have a comment from you, Lisa? Oh, David? Sorry, didn't see that.
Yeah, I scored at 7. Quite a nice constructed image. The editing's sort of a bit over the top, and I think a different background might have been more interesting. There's some technical issues, but it's overall quite.
Thank you for your comments. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a final score of 6, bronze image. Can I please have a comment from you, Erica?
He's definitely an interesting man to look at. Composition's great. The printing looks pretty good to me from here. I just feel like it's just lacking that little bit more of a story.
Thank you. Next image. Lisa, so we have a final score of 5, which is professional practice. Lisa, can we have a comment, please?
Yeah, this is good professional practice. I think things to elevate it up a little bit would be just to look at the posing. The woman is kind of looking maybe at the man's neck or chin rather than at him. And if the gentleman could just have angled a little bit more so that it is centred, it just feels like they're not in alignment. That would have elevated it.
Thank you. Jazz. Next. Next image. We have a final score of 7, a silver award. Congratulations to the author. Tony, can I have a comment from you, please?
I find it quite confronting. It's certainly got a lot of impact, that sort of high contrast feel, but it's the pearlescent and marble nature of the skin tone, and yet there's detail all the way through the skin tone. It throws out a lot of questions, you know, is it replicating a dead body? You know, what's going on here? And I think there's a hell of a lot of questions, not a lot of answers, but impact alone gets it over the line for an award. It'd be nice to have a hint as to what could take it a bit higher. Just give us some way of knowing what's going on. Perhaps an artist statement. This is one of very few times I'd suggest giving a title might have helped.
Are we allowed to do that in portrait? I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So I know you can't do it in portrait, but what I mean is it probably needs another way for us to read into it because it's quite exquisitely handled. It's just
Thank you, Tony. And we'll have the next image. Okay, we have a final score of 6, which is a bronze. Tony's going to challenge this.
Power, poise, and precision. This, you know, if you ask someone to get a portrait of a gymnast demonstrating passion and fire, and precision and poise and power, I mean, all of those things come to mind really easily when I look at this image. The intent, the focus and the connection in her eyes, you know, just pulls you straight in. I love the width of this frame. I'm glad they didn't get tempted to chop it off and crop it in a bit to make it more about her as a body, but more about her in relationship to that bar. The bar in her mind would almost gone forever either way, and we get to see that the bar is important because it's got this extra space to play a role. There's a symmetry in this portrait, and I love the lighting. It's got a power in it. It's not a... Now again, this would work beautifully as a black and white, but the choice of having this hot red, this power, this fire, for me, this is a really strong, powerful impact, and this is a well-executed portrait and deserving of, I think I gave it 8 silver plus.
You did. Mark.
Oh, Tony, you know how we love to battle, but I agree with everything you say. Yeah, everything that you said, I don't really repeat it, but the intensity of the eyes and the light and the control that the photographer has with the lighting has really created this to be quite a striking, powerful thing. So I'm with you all that.
Thank you, Gary.
Well, originally I didn't like the whole width of it. I found it to be a bit distracting, and I'm a bit of a black and white person as well, so I was sort of perhaps downgrading it because of that, but I'm taking on board what Tony has said, and it is indeed well handled for what was required for the portrait.
David?
Oh, I've got nothing much to add.
Lisa?
I was probably at the other end of the scale, so I'm not necessarily saying what you guys are saying. I am distracted by those thumbs. They aren't symmetry. There's no symmetry in those thumbs, and there is perfect symmetry in everything else. There's no symmetry in the thumb, in the fingernails. Just a simple putting those thumbs in at least the sort of one spot would have fixed that problem, but I've seen them and I can't unsee them. I'm also distracted by the fact that she's showing us power, and the depth of field isn't quite there. It is almost there, but it's not quite there, so her hands aren't as sharp as her face, and I'm also distracted by the overworking of the whites of her eyes. The colour, yes, but there's a coolness on her face. I think it's a really solid one, but I still need a little bit of convincing, so I'm sure you've got some replies for me.
Bring it home, Tony.
Yeah, if she was a gymnast and the thumbs were perfect and she nailed the landing, they'd give her a 10. They'd give her an 8. Because the thumbs aren't quite perfect.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know whether she's going into a twist or something and the hands have to sort of go one way or the other. I think the white of the eyes never really bothered me because it adds to the intensity of the game, the way she's looking at us. The depth of field pulls us to the eyes, but there's still enough sharpness, and particularly the bar, to give us that sort of enough depth of field so we don't feel like we're only looking at her face. So I'm asking for an 8. I think that's what it deserves. It's above the normal award standard. Gold, maybe not, but I certainly see it as an 8. And I'm just going to say, with the colour contrast, the blue against the red, that just accentuates the red. Because if this had only had warmth through the whole thing, I think we wouldn't have that drama, that tension. And let's face it, gymnastics is all about tension, isn't it? So we've got that tension in the colour contrast as well.
Thank you, Tony. Hold your 8 and everybody else rescore, please. And we have brought it up to a silver plus. Thank you, everyone. Well done to that entrant. Okay, we have an average score of 5. That is a professional practice image. Can I please have a comment from you, Mark?
In terms of a graphic image, it's just got those eyelashes which are being photographed really well, but that line that's under her lip on the left hand side is just really distracting. And her nose and chin and lip aren't lining up quite straight on. So if you're going to do something symmetrical, it's really got to be spot on.
Thank you for your comments. Next image. We have an average score of 7, a silver award. Congratulations. Gary, can I have a comment, please?
Yes, I scored this originally.
Beautifully lit and exposed, colour is very pleasing, you know exactly what you're looking at. Little interesting objects to sort of tie the story together.
Here's an opportunity to see by the photographer to create something.
Thank you. This image scores a 6, a bronze for the image. Lisa, can I have a comment from you, please?
It's another lovely graphic study. For me, the profile hasn't quite nailed it. I feel the subject needs to turn a little bit more towards us. The lips just aren't quite enough for it to be pleasing. Yeah.
Thank you. Next image. We have a score of 7, which is a silver award. Ben, may I have a comment, please?
Yeah, this is definitely deserving of a silver award or silver plus. Beautifully lit, and the composition and the expression of the dancer is just captured nicely. So, yeah, beautiful image.
Thank you. Next image. Thank you. We have an average score of 5, professional practice. Well done to the entrant. David, may I have a comment, please?
Unfortunately, it's not really water and surface.
Yeah, it's a nice image. It's a professional practice image. Expressions are quite good. It's good to see an image just sort of too smiling. It'd be quite a saleable image, but isn't an award image. No, unfortunately, it's not. Doesn't sort of elevate us to any interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a score of 7, a silver award. May I get a comment from you, Mark?
Yeah, I scored this an 8 through that, what is it?
Silver plus.
Silver plus. In terms of the creativity of the outfit and the detail that she's gone to, as a portrait, it's a nice, clean, sellable image. To take it into those other stages, to go further, it'll just need other elements of some sort. But in terms of the lighting, the pose, and the look and feel, I think the photographer's done really well.
Thank you. Next image. We have a Silver Plus award and an 8. Challenge. We have a challenge from Mark.
Yep.
Microphone, please.
Yep. Okay, so I've still this one a 9 into the gold range. We see a lot of underwater photos, and one of the things doing underwater photography is so hard to control elements of the person, the pose, the material, and how we kind of capture things. And keeping this in black and white, having that big vast space on that left-hand side of the cloud, the material that they've used has really accentuated that shape that she has, looking from left to right, almost that it disappears into the top of the pool space, that reflection space, that there's no start or end, like it's just a flowing piece. And the pose that the lady's done to be able to create that is really tough. It's a really tough gig. So in terms of bringing it into that gold award, I believe it's kind of up there. You've got that glimpse of her face in the right pose with the right eyes closed, and there's no bubbles. There's no like that person's really controlled everything so well that there's no bubbles on the top of the water. To create this would be really challenging. So that's why I awarded it to a 9.
Thank you. May I hear from you, Gary?
It's got to hear from everyone now.
I'm obviously on the other end of the scale. I would consider this to be professional practice, certainly. I did find the extra background on the left to be a bit distracting, and the focal point, it's a figure study, and we're judging portrait, which figure studies fit into that. But I perhaps would like to have seen a slightly tighter crop and some more definition in the face. But it's a lovely black and white image.
Erica, what do you have to say?
I'm very much in agreement with Mark. The reason I didn't score it as high as I would have liked to is that the image overall just feels really flat, and I would have liked to have seen a lot more, I guess, contrast and depth and so forth. I think the crop is pretty much perfect. I actually do think that you need all of that space on the left-hand side, because the way that the fabric that's being used sort of just, melts into the water, so to speak. If that was cropped, I think it would feel too tight. So I think you need all of that space, but perhaps maybe it doesn't need to be quite so bright. So for me, the only reason I didn't go as high is mostly for the printing technique.
David, you were eager to have a say.
Okay, this for me is a solid gold, except for the veil area across the face. This is a shame. It's if that was just more clearly defined, we didn't have like a seam of the veil or something going across the face, I would be well and truly. I scored an 8, and I'd be probably keen to go to 9. It's really beautiful. The composition's perfect, the pose is perfect. It's a difficult shot to do. Not that in itself should make it a high score, because just because you crawled across broken metals doesn't mean it's a good photo. But it's the tonally, it's beautiful. I think I like the fact that it's lower in contrast. It's sort of using the other end of our multi-grade head that we should be using sometimes. Not everything has to be grade 5. Talking a bit old school there. So yeah, let's give this image a big rip.
Ben, love to hear from you.
I saw this goal as well. I was up there with Mark. You know, I can understand and some of the technical things that have been pointed out, but visually, you know, as a master technician, production, you know, outstanding visual and emotional impact, I feel like the veil is a continuation of the ripple of the water, and it's sort of like she's in water, but the water's intending her into that narrative. And I feel like the narrative is so strong, and all that other technical stuff in the Valkyrie has been so forgiven. She definitely deserves a gold.
Mark, your right of reply, please.
The negative space, you just need space with this image, and flows from left to right really well. The veil over the face, if it was any clearer, it'll look like she's been placed in it, where at the moment it looks like it encompasses her in that space. So it's not so bad, and it's nice and flat. Like, it's a nice flat image. If it's too contrasty, it'll be too in your face, where this keeps it really soft as well, and it just makes it more like mysteriously whimsical. So
thank you for your
encourage everyone to go to a 9.
awesome. Thank you for mysteriously whimsical comments there. Can we have you hold your score and everybody else rescore, please? And we have a gold award at a 9. We have a final score of 6, which is a bronze. Erica, would you like to comment on this image?
This is a bit fun, loving the colours. There's a few parts of it where I don't really understand the story, which I suppose it's not a huge deal. I don't necessarily need to understand it, but one thing that really bugs me is that the scale is set to 0, and I feel like with the McDonald's reference, having the scale there is actually an important element of the photo. So I'm not sure, like that little, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for, that part of the story is really making to me, and it's confusing me.
Thank you.
That even makes sense.
Yes. Thank you for your comment. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 5, professional practice. Erica, can I give you a comment before I give you a break?
Yeah. So cute. Love the dog, love the little boy. The printing is really lovely, of a quality that you would expect, of course, for a professional standard image. There just seems to be, I suppose, a little bit lacking in terms of emotion and story.
Thank you. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 6, a bronze image. Shreen, can I have a comment from you, please?
Yeah, I scored this a 6. Great professional practice. I love to catch lights in the eyes. That works really well. Good attention to the editing and tonal range. And I do like the colour palette for the relationships in the background of the subject.
Thanks, Shreen. Thank you, judges. We have a professional practice image at a 5. Jasmine, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, I think the family would really enjoy this image. To elevate it more, I think maybe just a little bit more space around the people, and just, I think if the mum just needs to be a little bit more, like just the face is just a little bit too far down, and there just needs to be a little bit more engagement. But yeah, it'll be family would love this.
Thank you, Jasmine. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 6, which is a bronze. Can I have a comment from you, please, Tony?
So what did it get?
A bronze, 6.
Bronze. Okay. Look, it is a tiny bit overlit, I'll give you that, and I probably could do with a little bit of vignetting, and probably the only other thing would be that sky at the top. It's just a little distracting. But that aside, wonderful composition in terms of where you're placed to, great choice of a location to shoot this shot, and let's face it, there's nothing beats impact with kids, and that is just spot on, you know, great impact, genuine expression, genuine emotion, really sums up the life of a child. I'm not overly worried about hands hidden and behind because she's probably only old enough to just sit there, she needs her hand to balance. So all of that is why I would have given it a little bit higher than it got, but definitely a good professional shot. A few things to improve.
Thank you, Tony. Next image. Okay, judges, we have a score of 5, which is professional practice. Gary, thank you. Sorry, Mark. I'm so sorry.
From a generational shoot point of view, like it sums up always the grandparents and the parents want to make the youngest kids smile. But it didn't get there. She's looking down, she's grumpy, which is normally what kids do. But it's just that if you're going to really dive into it to see all these little expressions, if she had a little, if that little baby had a sparkle in her eye or said something to be more engaging, the reason why the 4 older parents and grandparents were looking towards her would have been awesome. So this is like a timing thing. It's like a frame before, the frame after. But in terms of a family shot, you know, I love this. Robot.
Thank you. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a final score of 5, which is professional practice. Congratulations. Ben, do you have a comment for us, please?
Yeah, so I scored this a little bit higher. It definitely is, you know, professional practice, and obviously there's some technical things, you know, with the behind his head and those kind of things like that. But what I really fell in love with was the expression and the detail in that. So maybe the artist could, you know, fix up or bring more detail in the background a little bit, and try not to over sharpen certain areas.
Thanks, Ben. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 6, which is a bronze image. So congratulations to the author. Tony, can we have a comment from you, please?
Sure. Middle of this image is wonderful. Ward-worthy, well lit, well controlled, love the movement, love the chips flying and all of that. What probably lets the portrait down is we're dragged to the outside, the brightness of the hair, the brightness on the sort of shoulder. There's a bit too much space on the right, so what you need to do perhaps is just, it looks like there might be a slight vignette, but I don't think it's come in far enough. I would have brought it in so that the light is really more on the face rather than those bright areas around the outside. So try and concentrate us into the middle and perhaps even cropping it down a bit. Tone down the part of the leg with the wood on it and the orange thing, and you start to move us into that central bit a little bit better, which will be stronger.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for that comment. We're judging the portrait category for Nikon, and we're having the next image. Okay, judges, we have a final score of 6, which is a bronze image. Erica, would you have a comment for this image, please? Mark? Tony?
I was excited to hear you say something. The expression on the face, I don't mind it being sort of nonplussed and vacant. It does draw us in and kind of brings us down, which is perhaps what this is about. But the red roses, the yellows on the left, the brightness coming in, there's just too much going around the outside that distracts us from that face. And this is an image that would benefit from black and white because it would take away those colour distractions and perhaps pull us closer to the face, but that's part of it. And Mark's going to add to it.
And just the guy on the left hand side doesn't bring anything extra to the image itself, so it'd be better that he wasn't with everything.
Step to the left. Thank you for your comments, judges. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 5, and which is professional practice. Congratulations to the author there. Gary, do you have a comment for us?
Yes, I scored this probably a little bit lower at 4. I think the reflections are lovely and the tones are warm, very family, well, a very warm family feeling about it. I probably marked it a little bit low just because the engagement with the parents wasn't that well. Otherwise, it's a lovely image.
Thank you. Next image. Judges, we have a score of 8, which is a silver plus. May I have a comment, please, from... Yeah. I thought Ben stood up too.
The control of the two ladies in this are fantastic. What is, I saw it in that high range too, but what to bring it up to the next level was to get rid of the top of the pool tiles, and if that was just a floating, in a floating space, those lines were distracting for me. But on saying that at the same time, if it didn't have that, it wouldn't have the context of it being in a pool. So it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't at the same time. But from a portrait point of view, I think the photographer's done really well.
Awesome, thank you. I'll hold the judges as they are, and I will have the next image. Apologies for that. We have a score of 5, which is professional practice. So Erica, do you have a comment for us, please?
It's such a great story here. The thing that made me not score it any higher is the print quality. I actually feel this would be so much more impactful as a black and white, and possibly cropped a bit more at the top. The white and the sky is not into it, but in terms of the visual communication of the story, I can personally see in this a different printing technique.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 5, a professional practice image. Gary, do you have a comment for us?
Yeah, I was hoping you to ask me for that. I gave it a 3, and which is I was disappointed to give because I think the composition of the brothers and the warmth of their feeling is really lovely. Just that bit by the down of blacks and the shadows and the distracting amount of background that it's worthy of a better process at solving that will take it up create a beautiful
Thanks for your comments, Gary. Thank you, judges. That final score is a 5, which is professional practice. Yeah, thank you, Ben.
Yeah, so this is something I would expect to see a professional photographer, you know, as an industry standard to capture for a family. It's great storytelling in terms of each individual child, and I think to take it to the next level for awards, I think the lighting has to be more interesting, and maybe the expressions less forced, or you know, they look like smiles, but also feel a bit of tension there. So I think it's a nice, the family will love it, but to get that next level, I think has to have a bit more of a story in terms of expression and lighting.
Thank you for your comments. Next image. Ben, can we see your score again, please? Thank you. That brings us to a score of 6, which is a bronze.
Oh, challenger.
Challenge? We have a challenge from Ben.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I definitely feel like this deserves an award. I've got it silver. I think it's really deserving of that. There's so much to me. I love the colour palette. I even love how the overlays are coming over the subject. I feel like it feels like she's immersing in her culture, but I feel like there's some pain in her eyes, like she's going back in time or something like that. I feel really like there's a lot of narrative and a lot of story here coming through the image, and I feel it definitely deserves a score. You know, not just a bright. The photographer artist has really thought about the cultural elements, the expression, and how everything's laid out. So that's why I think it deserves to go up to at least a 7.
Yeah, I really did enjoy this image and the way that it was laid. I just found the colour palette and the treatment quite harsh. The details are nearly gone from her nose, and the orange is it's very bright. It's probably part of the story. I scored a 6. And I'm comfortable to listen.
Shireen.
I scored this as 7. I think creatively it's got a great narrative to it. The artist, the photographer, has really given us a lot of symbolic links to the background of the subject matter. I do agree with Lisa that we probably need to just watch the highlight within the face as well.
Awesome, thank you, Mark.
I find that she's just a little bit starry-eyed. Like it's there, but it's not there. All those other elements that you guys were talking about, you can see the hairpiece as well on the side of her face, and it's coming across with the hairline. But it's the expression that I just kind of struggle with. So it's a mix between that powerful, but then it's kind of like she's staring into no man's land, so it's going to be lost from the way I feel about it.
Thank you, Gary.
Yes, I gave this a 6, which is, it's a high level of visual communication and interpretation of the subject, and it's a lovely image, well composited.
Ben, can you
Thank you.
speak back to the image, please?
Yeah, so all your comments are definitely valid. I think that the expression being starry-eyed or off into the distance, really blank, I think that's because I feel like there's a disconnect between where she wants to be and where she is, and that's why I felt it was, deserving of at least a silver, because just the narrative alone. Like, I was a firm believer that the technicalities can always be forgiven when there's a great story there, and I feel like even like the colours really accentuate, the whole style of the photo, and where it brings homage to the culture and where she was from. So I feel like, I think we can come up at least 1. Hopefully.
Thanks, Ben. Can you hold your score at 7, please, and everybody else rescore? Can we have those scores held a bit longer, please? Thank you. And we have a 6 at a bronze. Congratulations to the author. Can I have that middle score again, please? Yep. Thank you. All right. Thank you, judges. We have a silver award with a 7. Lisa would like to challenge that.
I would like us to take another look at this image. There is a really beautiful, elegant symmetry about this image. The turning of it upside down, the delicate tiling across the top. It's been handled beautifully and delicately, yet the woman is in an extraordinarily strong and perhaps defiant pose. Initially, I was like, I want to see more of the profile and less of her back. But then the more I sat back and thought about it, I feel like she's fighting. She's wearing a normal dress. She's not in bathers. I feel like this is in
she's in her world, but she's like, hey, you know, she's trying to show some power, some strength, and some grace in her everyday world. And the way that this has been treated, with the symmetry behind, the beautiful flow of the patterns of the water. Where did we end up? Did it get a?
It's a
a 7?
7.
Yeah, I think this definitely at least deserves an 8, if not a 9.
Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, so I think I'm hearing what you're saying. Originally, I scored it around the silver, and I think it's definitely deserving of that. I feel like, you know, with the bottom highlights, top highlights, they sort of distract me from the actual subject and what she's doing and falling, or, you know, it's obviously being flipped upside down. That's what I'm interpreting anyway. So yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying about, you know, the dress and those kind of things. So I'm listening.
Shireen?
I'll definitely take a second look at that.
JR?
Yeah, I'm a bit harsh on this one. It's 4 to 6. Mostly because I really like the graphical nature of it and the play with you know, reflection and all. But then her facial expression really let it down. I felt she looks quite sort of forced and awkward and not elegant and natural like the rest of the posters. I think that her arm is also really awkward. So for me, it'd be really hard to go into sort of plus because of those issues. But I really enjoy. I only realized afterwards that it's been flipped and it's actually on the blue at me. So I really enjoy many parts of it, and I definitely consider.
Thank you, Johannes. Gary, can we have your comment and go back to Ben for right of reply? Thanks. Oh, sorry. Lisa.
Yes, I gave this an 8, and I'm happy with it sitting there. Beautiful, elegant, and superb grey. I don't like images to be perfectly overly constructed where everything is perfectly even, and I like the slight awkwardness of the arm and legs because it's hanging upside down. So, perfectly. So, yes, I'd certainly like people to raise this go for an 8.
Thank you. Lisa, your right of reply. If you could speak up a bit, please, just to get over the volume of the other room.
Yeah, I do agree. I don't think the intention for this is for the woman to look perfect. The woman is trying to look strong and elegant and as graceful as she can be in her everyday life. And I think it's also graphically extraordinarily strong, and it deserves at least a silver plus.
Thank you for all your comments, judges, and Lisa for challenging. If you can hold your score at a 9, Lisa, and everyone else rescore, please. We have got a silver plus at an 8. Thank you, judges. Well done. Thank you, judges. We have a silver plus award. A silver award at a 7. We have a challenge from Johannes.
Yeah.
Ben.
I think like
Can you go on?
The contrast is very striking. Beautiful makeup, like everything's.
Just one moment. Sorry, Johannes. Thank you.
Everything's kind of perfect, and yes, she has her legs missing, but I think it's the point. And there's like little, like, you know, heart shape on her face, which I think is like a Queen of Hearts sort of thing. So I think it plays on card gamers and being a character out of that, and it's and the lighting, I believe, is exquisite. So, and the, you know, the handling of the red, there's many elements that I really work really well and it's been really well handled in the post processing too. So I really like to do some comments. Why only a silver?
Shireen, can you speak to the image, please.
Yes, I scored an 8 with this one. I agree with everything said, JR. I think that it's been handled really, really well. I love the abstract nature of the red, the really big pops that are happening, and the fact that we are puppets within the world.
Erica, can we hear your thoughts from the other end, please?
I will adjust my score. I suppose for me, there was a little something lacking in terms of the one thing that held me back from going higher as well is that I felt her arms are looking quite weird with the skin tone. So just a slight technical thing that can be tweaked. The missing legs of one part of the body doesn't actually bother me. Normally it would, but I think it kind of adds to it, to be honest. So I'm happy to adjust my score somewhat.
The missing legs got me. Maybe because it's cropped in so tightly. So if it was given more space to be a deliberate, like I'm a puppet, I'm the top half, I'm missing legs, but because that crop is so tight at the bottom, I'm like surely they're not supposed to be there because you can't see anything. But then at the same time, it's so tight that if it just gave it some more breathing space, it would have made it over accentuate the fact that she has no legs. So I'm all ears.
Gary.
Yes, I gave this a 7, which is excellent visual communication, strong visual, excellent technique, and I think that's pretty well where it sits.
Johannes, if
I think this is above that. I think this is more excellent, towards exceptional. Yes, but then she would be smaller, and I think that you kind of lose her in the image a bit. Yeah, I think it's better than a solo. I think solo plus is.
Thank you, Johannes. If you can hold your score there and everybody else rescore. Thank you, judges. We have moved the image to Silver Plus. Congratulations to the entrant. Thank you, judges. The final score is a 7, which is a silver award. Erica, do you have a comment for this image, please?
What a cute little dolly / girl. Love this. The reason I didn't go any higher is because there is literally no texture on her skin whatsoever, and she just looks overly fake. I think also a little bit of additional cropping, top and bottom, would have balanced it a little better. But great work, I love.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a professional practice image with a score of 5. Congratulations to the author. Johannes, do you have a comment for this print image?
Yeah, awesome story on this image. It's very cute, and the way the dog looks, I really like that. But it took me a little while because there's only very small crumbs of the floor. You could have just added a couple of bigger cookies to sort of emphasize on that, and then we would have got the story quicker, and that might have helped the scoring.
Thank you for your comment. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a competent image with a score of 4. Congratulations to the author. Tony, do you have some comment for this author?
I would love to. First of all, this photographer obviously has a way of connecting with people, which is really nice because the subject looks quite comfortable lying there. I think the composition or the actual framing is wrong because we've got a vertical portrait shape, whereas we should probably have a landscape shape to help the flow of the picture because we're looking out to the right. I think I'd bring her back closer to the left of frame and have a little bit more space in front of her because there's too much behind her head, too much negative space. At the bottom, there's too much space at the bottom. So you're starting with a really good connection, and the light, which is dappled light, not easy to work with, but it looks like you've done a good job there dealing with the dappled light, getting an even light on their face, but just get that frame around it in a way that's going to complement your good work with the subject and give us something a little more flattering and something more that can hold us in the picture a little bit longer.
Thank you, Tony. Constructive comments for the entrant. Can I please have, I'll have the next print, please. Thank you. Thank you, judges, for your scores. We have a score of 4, which is competent image. Jasmine, do you have any constructive critique?
Yeah, it's a beautiful portrait of this man. I think to elevate it more, it would be just to be a little bit more engaging. I think it's very confident shot, but just I wanted to engage with more, have a little bit more energy.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Next image. Thank you, judges. We have a final score of 5, which is professional practice. Johannes, do you have a comment for the entrant, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's a competent image. I think there's some movement in it. I would really like to see more movement and then more emotion in the face, as in, putting, make her laugh or do something like that. And her eye blends into background. She got like a darkish black eye, and it blends into the background. So if you have some separation of that or just tilt the face a little bit towards the camera, that would help too.
Thank you. I'm just going to thank you to Nikon for sponsoring the portrait category here at the Orloff Awards, and hope you are all enjoying the live stream at home, if you can hear me out there. The entrants are being judged on the calibrated screen here, the ISO monitor, and as we see them presented there, you may have a slightly different view at home, so just keep that in mind. We're going to have the next image. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 5, professional practice. Mark, do you have a comment for the entrant, please?
Oh, there's always one, and it's always the younger brother. Maybe because I'm the younger brother and I can relate to him on that big shit as well. But in terms of the image itself, great expression of the kids, the family, you're capturing a moment of time with the expression. It would have been nice for mum to be a little bit more expressive as well, but in terms of a family portrait, of capturing the character of this young boy, I thought it was done nice.
Thank you very much. We have our next image. Nice consistent scoring there, judges. We have a 5 at professional practice. Ben, would you have a comment for this entrant, please?
Yeah, this is a lovely sort of candid image. I think the photograph is done well. I love that, the writing above his head, the graffiti sublime, and you can really see the character of this person. I feel like to get into award status, maybe, obviously it's very harsh lighting, very upshot, but I think the background is the same sort of lighting as the forefront, so I think a bit more interesting lighting. Maybe wait till a little bit later in the day, so you have a bit more, that texture in the background or less texture in the background, something a bit more interesting to keep us there. But yeah, lovely professional practice image.
Awesome, thank you very much for your comment. We have the next image. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 6, which is a bronze image. Congratulations to author. Mark, would you have a comment? Tony? Johannes?
Yeah, I think a really nice, authentic portrait of a man who's also going on as a carpenter. There's a couple of technical things that I would improve on. As in crop from the bottom, see there's this right area at the bottom, this little line. If you crop that out, there's less distraction. And maybe crop them from the top too. And if you straighten like the left side, that right line and darken that down, that would help to bring emphasizing on his face. The expression is really lovely, and it's what I consider an authentic portrait.
Thank you for coming, Hannes. Everyone happy with their scores? Okay, we have a final score of 3. Tony, can you comment on the image, please?
Again, the elements of a good photo are here. A few things that could be looked at. The cropping's too tight. The chopping out fingers, chopping out bits of the flowers or the hair. So it's all a little bit tight. The hair's a little bit too raised, and the lighting coming from the front, we're getting very strong broad lighting and broad side of the face is very unflattering. It's a lower than nose point of view, so we're looking up, and then bright light on the right is blowing out the material. So something I like to tell people is to decrease this distracting and increase the attraction. So the distractions are those edges, the cropping, the fingers, the highlights, sort of break them down by more space, or if you can't crop out because there's no space, come in tighter. And then the attraction, she's got a beautiful face, turn her face more towards us, just watch the lighting is flattering and not unflattering, and then you're starting to move towards something that's probably a high scoring image.
Thank you very much for your comments there, Tony. We're going for the next image. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 4, which is competent. Mark, do you have a comment for this image?
Judges, this now scores a 7, a silver award. Yeah, the time of day that this is shot at is quite tricky. In terms of the warm tones for the skin and the highlights on the white dress, it's really standing out. Also the timing of the wave, I would have timed it either before or after, because that line cutting through them is more of a division rather than inclusion.
Thank you for your comments. Next image. Thank you for your scores, judges. We have a score of 3. Lisa, do you have some comments for the entrant?
Yeah, just pay attention to where your focus is. The focus is actually on the subject's shoulder and not on her face, which is where I think we want to be looking. And perhaps a slightly different camera angle as well will bring the focus more onto this beautiful girl rather than on her shoulder.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next image. Thank you, judges. I have a 7, a silver award. Congratulations to the entrant. And we have a challenge from Tony.
Yeah, I gave it an 8, and I was very tempted to go to a 9. I'll tell you why I didn't first. I just felt that the shadow detail on the bottom was... I'm doing something. So I was tempted to go to a 9, but I went to an 8. The reason I didn't go to the 9, just to get that out of the way, was just that shadow detail on the bottom is just needs a little kick more, just a little bit more. So getting that behind us, the rest of this image is sublime. The face detail is just incredible. The narrative of the artist, the holding the brush, I don't even mind the way he's holding it, almost a little uncomfortable, the twisted strap. But what brings the whole image together is the colour palette and that feeling of a canvas behind him, almost an unpainted canvas. So in terms of the portrait of an artist, that's age. Looking at in terms of the portrait of an artist, it's beautifully lit. Not quite Rembrandt, but getting damn close to it. Nice vignette on the background. Everything leads us to where we need to go. The colours, like I said, that off-bluish colour, it smacks of a 16th century painting with the colour palettes of a Rembrandt or Renoir, without making perfection of that. I just felt like it had to be at least an 8 for me.
Lisa, can I have your comments, please?
Yeah, I agree. I really love the treatment and the feeling. I feel like I get a feel for who this artist is. As well as the banding, the darkness down the bottom. The very strong vignette held me back just a little bit. And I just felt like it needed to be slightly more centered in the frame. It's just a smidge, but I am willing to listen because I really get a sense of who this man is, and I love how his skin almost replicates as though he's been painting because it's aged. Yeah.
Ben, your comments, please.
Yeah, look, you know, I scored it around the bronze. I'm hearing what you're saying. the thing that sort of lost me is I felt like the texture on his face was sort of overlapping with the background texture. I just felt like it was sort of bleeding over, like they hadn't really turned it down. So I just and some of the colours that I didn't really enjoy the blues. I understand the story and the narrative, and I liked the tension of him holding the brush and how he's an artist. I can understand that, but it's just I felt like a texture had been put over the top and not really blended into the image for what I see anyway. But I'm listening to it.
Mark?
So not to repeat what everyone else is saying, so I'm going to go a totally different direction here. So when we had the Print Awards, you would learn to print on different paper because it's different on different paper and different textures and things. When a photographer is entering the digital awards, in seeing this on like an ISO, I've got them both on an ISO screen. Compared to at home on a different kind of monitor. So really making sure that you know what the calibration is so that when we judge, so what you're submitting at home is going to be the same as what you're judging as well, which is probably why we think it's so dark on the bottom, but at home it might not be. So it could be just the new challenge of what we're going to be having in that space. So just as a learning curve for photographers to check them on it.
Yeah, I totally appreciate what everyone's saying. I think for me, I was kind of held back with the blue tone. Possibly a similar issue with the colouring. It just feels like it's an oversaturation of the blues, but maybe that's intentional. I'm not sure, but it just felt like it's bleeding a little bit too much into the skin and the hair.
Interesting to an extent because
but yeah, I think it's a really strong portrait.
Thank you, Jasmine. Tony, you're right of reply.
Look, if there's a texture over the top, it's very subtle, and I think it connects the background with the face. I don't see it as a major problem on the front. I love that colour palette. I absolutely love that colour palette. It smacks of an artist in a dark, neutral, cold space with just a hint of warm light coming through the window, which is what we're seeing on his face. If you look at the colour tone on his face on the right, it's perfect. It's exactly the colour tone it should be, which means to me everything else is right. And like a Rembrandt, his hands, we're brought to his hands. Those are the only two areas that are thought. That's the artist. What's going on in his head and what he does with his hands. Everything else is the cold palette behind it. I think there's a lot going on here beyond just what's in front of us. And I think the way it's been done is exquisite. I would have loved to have seen just a tad more detail because I've been climbing right up to the top. But I think at the very least we do need to ask you to consider that this is worthy of a name because of all the portraits we've seen today. This is an environmental portrait of the highest order, and I feel the artist and I feel the artistry that he would bring to this painting.
Thank you for your comments, everyone. Tony, if you hold your score at an 8, everyone else rescore, please. Lisa, can we see yours again, please? Thank you. We have a silver plus at an 8. Thank you everyone for your comments and challenges. I would like to thank Nikon for sponsoring the portrait category, and we really appreciate the sponsors helping us out with these categories at PPWA. And that concludes the portrait category for the Orloff Awards, for the inaugural Orloff Awards.